Hello and welcome into another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin, riding solo for this one, but had to get on here, had to react to the breaking news from this morning as it, certainly as it pertains to the Ravens and the AFC North. This is big news. This is certainly noteworthy, and that's why I'm here live with you guys so quickly because, man, as you can see on the screen here, the Pittsburgh Steelers are trading George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. A huge move in the sports world as Dallas, much criticized this offseason for not making a ton of changes. In fact, the changes made, some even questioned those. What's going on, Ycall? What's going on, King Blaze? Appreciate you coming out. They've been criticized for lack of aggression and not surrounding and really not looking like they are all in and trying to compete for Super Bowl titles, even though that's what Jerry claims is his only focus and his only kind of driving force. So, man, what a blockbuster. And in return, just so you guys know, the Steelers will get, Dallas will be sending a 2026 third round pick as well as a 2027 fifth round pick. And the Steelers not only are sending George Pickens, but also a 2027 sixth round pick. So essentially, it's a pick swap in 2027. Steelers get a fifth. Cowboys get the Steelers sixth. And in this upcoming draft, Dallas sends their third pick to Pittsburgh. So not a ton of compensation for such a talented wide receiver, but I think we all know why, right? There's some baggage that comes along with George Pickens, right? He's a bit emotional on the field. Some say he's emotionally immature on the field, and it's hard to argue with some of the antics we've seen, some blow-ups, some effort issues at times that have been called into question. I know some Steelers fans have not always been happy with his effort. Pittsburgh, see, No Muck uses Pittsburgh just loves to destroy their roster. I love it. Well, look, I think it could go both ways. There is a addition by subtraction that could be very real here. There was a part of me that was kind of looking forward to what drama might ensue in Pittsburgh this season and kind of made me laugh at what Tomlin might have had to deal with, especially if the rumors and the expectations are true that Aaron Rodgers will eventually at some point sign with the Steelers and become their next quarterback. I understand there's a lot that goes into having him as your quarterback as well. Aaron Rodgers is going to bring his own level of drama to the team, and you can, I'm sure, expect to see him on ESPN Weekly. And if he's unhappy, you may hear from it live on the Pat McAfee show. And now they bring in DK Metcalf. Again, hell of a player. Really no doubting him as a player, but emotional at times. He's had some blow-ups on the field. So I was kind of looking forward to a little bit of the dysfunction as a Ravens fan of what would take place. Because look, if they're winning and playing well, then things would be things would be fine. But if they started to struggle, if there were issues, if they lost a couple in a row, that's what I was excited for, right? Like to hear guys getting upset because as a Ravens fan, I understand that the Steelers are very much so one of the biggest one of the biggest hurdles that they have to get over in order to accomplish their first goal, winning the AFC North and getting into the playoffs. So while I look at the Bengals as their biggest competitor in this upcoming season, I still, come on, the Steelers are always there. They're always competing. So, I was kind of looking forward to some, because I don't really look at Aaron Rodgers as a guy at this point in his career that could really propel a team to a Super Bowl. And so even though I recognize they had crazy talent after the DK trade, having Pickens opposite DK, having Freiermuth, still at tight end. And, even though they lost Najee, they still had Jalen Warren. They picked up Caleb Johnson in the draft, who I think has a chance. They got the speedster and Calvin Austin. They got Bobby Trees, Roman Wilson, who's got some speed to him. So they had talent. And the only question really was remaining, could that talent work together? And did Aaron Rodgers have enough left in the tank once he assumed that he signs? Did he have enough left, right? So I was kind of looking forward to that. But also, I was certainly understanding that's a lot of talent, and that would not be easy for the Ravens to just overcome all that talent in their pursuit of the division. So, but you also got to give the Steelers credit because in the past, they've certainly known when and when not to get rid of talented wide receivers. And they've been criticized oftentimes for this exact move in the past. And so I'm pulling up right now. Shout out to Warren Sharp for, kind of accumulating all this. But you can't deny that they've been right in the past. And Antonio Brown, career high 15 receiving touchdowns, as you can see on the screen in 2018. He's still averaging 15 starts a season back when there was only 16 games. And as soon as they get rid of him, look, he started a total of 7 games in 3 years and a combination of 2 stops in New England and Tampa Bay before retiring. Chase Claypool, the big Mapletron, 13 touchdowns in 2 seasons in Pittsburgh before they traded him away. He's done absolutely nothing since then. 5 games in 2.5 seasons and 1 touchdown. Didn't post a single statistic last season. I believe he was on the Dolphins, if I remember correctly. Deontay Johnson, another one, very successful as a Steeler. 25 touchdown catches in 5 seasons through the 2023 season. Since then, been through 3 teams, one of which was the Ravens, ended very badly on all of those stops. The Panthers gave him away for less than nothing. The Ravens, obviously, he left here very disgruntled, and then the Texans picked him up very briefly before quickly releasing him. He's now with the Browns, and we'll kind of wait to see what that looks like. Juju, again, I think Juju had a little bit more success, certainly, than those other guys. But after his time in Pittsburgh, played on 3 teams in 3 years and averaged 2 touchdowns. So while the haul wasn't incredible for George Pickens, getting essentially a pick swap and then a 3rd-round pick, maybe they've been right before. So now I'm not saying Pickens is going to have no success. I don't think that. I think he probably will, but it's up to him. And if he can control his emotions, a very emotionally driven guy, at least that's how it seems. But yeah, obviously there was issues with Pickens in the locker room. There's no doubt about it, and that's why he's no longer there. They chose to, similar fashion, how the Ravens traded for Roquan Smith, decided to make him the center of their defense and pay him a boatload of money and not give that same contract to Pat Queen, a guy who was already here on his rookie deal. No, they said, we've seen enough. We're not going to give you that money. We want to give it to someone at that very position, but we're not going to give it to you. And that's kind of how the Steelers are taking this. They had a stud receiver on his rookie deal. They didn't want to pay him that kind of money. They obviously wanted to pay someone that money at that same position. They decided to go with DK instead. They get rid of Pickens. But I did want to point out at the top here why this could be successful. And again, thank you for putting this out here. Warren Sharp does as good a job as anyone. There's no doubt the match that this could be. This could be a pretty good marriage. Dak Prescott the last 2 years, number 1 most passing yards on 15-plus yard go routes, and number 2 on most attempts on 15-plus yard go routes. And George Pickens, there you go, number 1 in most receptions on 15 or more yard go routes, number 2 in most catches on those same routes. Also, Dak is number 3 as far as most accurate among 40 quarterbacks. So he can throw a good deep ball, and we know Pickens' ability to come down with it, even when separation isn't the biggest part of his game. He's just now, not to say he can't, but certainly has the ability, even when he's guarded closely, to come down with one of those 50-50 balls. It's probably not 50-50 if George Pickens is in the picture. It's probably certainly more in his favor. So, I don't think it's crazy to think he could have success in Dallas. But as a Ravens fan, I don't care. He's in the NFC. He can't really affect the Ravens except for the once every 4 years they'll play each other. And then, of course, if they meet in the Super Bowl. But other than that, good riddance. He's gone. He's no longer a headache for Marlon Humphrey and others in the secondary for the Ravens. And the prospects of having to face a Pittsburgh team that had that, those 2 guys opposite each other, even for the talented secondary that the Ravens are building, which I think they're going to be, one of, if not the most talented secondary in football when you include what they have at safety. I still am not, it would have been a challenge. No doubt would have been a challenge, because even if you're guarding any of those guys closely, they still have the ability to come down with the ball, break a tackle, and score a touchdown. So, as a Ravens fan, good riddance. I'm happy, but I also recognize the fact that it might not have been so. This might be a good move for Pittsburgh, in other words, because addition by subtraction is a very real thing. And although a third round pick isn't the most compensation, I think we all recognize that the Steelers do have a track record of finding talented wide receivers at every spot in the draft, whether that's an early round pick or a late round pick. They've had success. They've had a track record. So this could be bad for the Steelers in a sense. They're removing talent, but this could also be good because this guy's an obvious headache in the locker room, and they are done dealing with it. Let's see here. Travis Rumpel says, I could see them signing Amari Cooper or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the current depth chart at wide receiver that we see is the final depth chart that we'll see come September. I can actually pop that up here right now. I have it in front of me. Again, we don't think Mason Rudolph's going to be their starter. Will Howard might be their starter of the future, but certainly not this season. Aaron Rodgers will likely be slated in there. And, it's very real that they could be adding another veteran, although they did add Robert Woods. Obviously, they have DK, they have speed and Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and in Scotty Miller for that, to that regard. And they have Ben Skoranek, who had a decent run with the Rams, but yeah, wouldn't be shocked at all to see them continue to add to that group that more complements DK. And I bet that the guys they do bring in won't be the headache, won't even be the risk of the headache that they just got rid of in George Pickens. But I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. How surprised were you, first and foremost, that the trade happened? And then, is this a good thing for the Steelers? Is this a bad thing? I think it could go both ways. But let me know what you think as far as the Ravens' perspective as well. How much does this help the Ravens in their pursuit of the AFC North? Does this weaken the Pittsburgh Steelers overall? Or, again, is this addition by subtraction? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll talk soon. See you.